Here's a clean, numbered rewrite of your draft, keeping your vivid storytelling tone intact, but tightening the flow a little so each entry feels like a punchy segment of a countdown. Number 10. Washing hands. Picture this. 1847. A doctor discovers something that could save thousands of lives. His reward? They destroy his career and lock him in an asylum. Ignaz Semmelweis noticed something horrifying at his hospital. One maternity ward had 5 times more dead mothers than the other. The difference? The deadly ward was run by doctors who performed autopsies with their bare hands and then delivered babies. Yeah, they went straight from dead bodies to newborns. Semmelweis forced doctors to wash with chlorine. Deaths dropped 90% overnight. 90%. But here's where it gets dark. The medical establishment was so offended by the suggestion that their gentlemanly hands could carry disease that they bullied him into madness. They genuinely believed being upper class made your hands magically clean. The twisted ending? Semmelweis died in an asylum from an infected wound, the exact type of infection he spent his life trying to prevent. Number 9. Witchcraft rays. Imagine something impossible. Light passing through black paper, through walls, through flesh. In 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen showed the world X-rays. People accused him of witchcraft. To prove it was real, he photographed his wife's hand. She saw her own skeleton with her wedding ring floating around her bone and screamed that she had seen her own death. That image became the most famous photograph in science. Then, things went insane. Shoe stores installed X-ray machines to show how feet fit in shoes, literally blasting children with radiation to sell sneakers. Early researchers tested the rays on themselves until their fingers rotted and fell off. We had discovered one of medicine's greatest tools and immediately used it to destroy ourselves. Number 8. The man who drank bacteria to win an argument. For decades, doctors believed stomach ulcers came from stress and spicy food. After all, no bacteria could possibly survive in stomach acid strong enough to dissolve metal. Barry Marshall thought otherwise. He claimed ulcers were caused by bacteria. Everyone said he was crazy, so he did the unthinkable. He brewed a beaker of infectious stomach bacteria and drank it. Within days, he was vomiting, in agony, and his stomach lining looked like raw hamburger meat. He had given himself ulcers on purpose, just to prove he was right. His insane stunt changed medicine forever. Millions could now be cured with antibiotics instead of surgery. And yes, he eventually won a Nobel Prize for voluntarily poisoning himself. Number 7. Bicycle mechanics versus the smartest man alive. It's 1895. Lord Kelvin, president of the Royal Society, basically the Einstein before Einstein, declares heavier-than-air flying machines are impossible. Case closed. 8 years later, 2 bicycle mechanics from Ohio, who probably couldn't even spell thermodynamics, proved him wrong. The Wright brothers had no PhDs, no lab, just busted bikes and grit. On December 17, 1903, they flew for 12 seconds. 12 seconds. That's all it took to humiliate the most brilliant scientific mind of the era. While Kelvin declared flight impossible, 2 guys in a field, probably eating sandwiches their mom packed, were busy revolutionizing civilization. Do you want me to keep building this countdown? Like a top 10 strange medical and science blunders list, or polish these 4 into a full script style that flows like a narration? Perfect. Here's a polished continuation of your countdown script with the same punchy storytelling tone as the earlier entries. I've kept the rhythm tight, clear, and built in with those little ironic twists that land well in narration. Number 6. The New York Times versus basic physics. In 1920, the New York Times published an article calling rocket scientist Robert Goddard an idiot. Their argument? Rockets couldn't possibly work in space because there was nothing to push against. This wasn't some random blogger. This was the New York Times, and they didn't understand Newton's third law, the thing you learn in middle school. Rockets work because they shoot hot gas one way, which pushes them the other way, like releasing a balloon. The vacuum of space doesn't stop rockets. It actually makes them work better because there's no air resistance. Fast forward to 1969, we're landing on the moon using the exact principles the Times called impossible. So in the most humiliating correction in journalism history, they admitted Newton was right and ended with, "The Times regrets the error." They apologized to a guy who'd been dead for 242 years, nearly 50 years after mocking him. Number 5. The weatherman who solved Earth's biggest mystery. Alfred Wegener wasn't even a geologist. He was a meteorologist who liked flying weather balloons, but he noticed something no one else did. South America and Africa fit together like puzzle pieces. Then he found the smoking gun, identical fossils on opposite sides of the Atlantic, same ancient reptiles living in Brazil and West Africa, separated by 3,000 miles of ocean. His conclusion? The continents were once joined. They drifted apart. The geology establishment laughed him out of the room. A weatherman telling geologists how Earth worked? They told him to stick to rain. 50 years later, scientists proved him right with instruments that showed the seafloor literally spreading apart. The continents are sliding around like air hockey pucks, exactly as Wegener said. He died frozen in Greenland, never knowing he'd solved one of Earth's greatest mysteries. Number 4. The speed that would turn you into human soup. It's the 1820s. People believed trains going faster than 30 miles per hour would make passengers suffocate and die. They thought the human body would literally disintegrate at high speeds. 30 miles per hour, slower than your dad driving through a school zone. But at the time, doctors swore your lungs would collapse and you'd explode like a water balloon if you hit 31. Ironically, 2 guys did suffocate in a train tunnel in 1861. Not from speed, just from breathing coal smoke in a poorly ventilated tunnel. But the myth stuck. Meanwhile, today's bullet trains hit 200 miles per hour. Shockingly, nobody has turned into human soup. Number 3. The nuclear physicist who didn't believe in nuclear power. Ernest Rutherford wasn't just any scientist. He discovered the atomic nucleus. He literally wrote the textbook on atoms. In 1933, he declared using atomic energy was moonshine. Total nonsense. This is the same man who split the atom in 1917. He had already done the impossible, then said it was useless. It's like inventing fire, then saying, nah, nobody will ever need this. Less than 10 years later, the first nuclear reactor went online. His own work became the foundation for the atomic age, the one he swore would never exist. Imagine being so brilliant you change the world, and so wrong you don't realize it. Do you want me to keep the list running all the way down to number 1, like a top 10 worst scientific misjudgments? Or package these into a narration-ready script that feels like one continuous video story? Perfect. Here's a polished wrap-up of your countdown, with number 2 and number 1 cleaned and structured to match the punchy, dramatic rhythm of the earlier entries, followed by a strong outro you can use as narration or community post text. Number 2. The sheep that shouldn't exist. In the 1980s and 90s, scientists were confident about one thing. You can't clone a mammal from an adult cell. Adult cells were thought to be like retired workers, only able to do one job, nothing else. Then came Dolly. Scientists pulled DNA from a sheep's udder cell and stuffed it into an empty egg. And it worked. The world went insane. People thought we'd be cloning humans by the end of the week. Religions panicked. Governments scrambled to pass laws. But Dolly wasn't perfect. She aged at warp speed. Arthritis hit too young. Tumors appeared. She was running on photocopied DNA with glitches in the code. Still, she gave birth to lambs of her own. Dolly died at just 6 years old, half a normal sheep's lifespan, but by then she had already changed everything we thought we knew about life itself. Number 1. The animal that broke science's brain. 1798. British scientists receive a package from Australia. Inside is what looks like God's drunk experiment. Duckbill, beaver body, otter feet. They were convinced it was a hoax. They grabbed magnifying glasses and searched for stitches, certain someone had sewn together a Frankenstein of animal parts. But it was real. The platypus. Then it got worse. It laid eggs. A mammal, laying eggs. Their entire classification system exploded overnight. And just when they thought they had it figured out, the final insult. The males had venomous spurs so painful morphine couldn't touch it. Victims described wanting to amputate their own limbs to escape the agony. The platypus wasn't just weird. It was a declaration that nature plays by rules we don't even understand. Outro, closing hook. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future, so subscribe if you want more. The truth is, even with all our modern knowledge, we're still surrounded by bizarre facts and unsettling truths that defy logic. A cloned sheep aging in fast forward. A mammal laying eggs and injecting venom. History isn't just strange, it's stranger than fiction. Stay tuned. Do you want me to stitch all 10 entries into a single continuous script for video narration, smooth transitions, one flowing story? Or keep them as separate standalone segments you can drop one by one?